This podcast is supported by MIDI Health. Are you in midlife, feeling dismissed, unheard, or just plain tired of the old healthcare system? You're not alone. For too long, women's serious midlife health issues have been trivialized, ignored, and met with a just deal with it attitude. Many of us have been made to feel ashamed or forgotten. In fact, even today, 75% of women seeking care for menopause and perimenopause issues are left entirely untreated. But here's the powerful truth. It's time for a change. It's time for MIDI. MIDI is not just a healthcare provider. It's a women's telehealth clinic, founded and supported by world-class leaders in women's health. What sets MIDI apart? We are the only women's telehealth brand covered by major insurance companies, making high-quality expert care accessible and affordable. Our clinicians provide one-on-one, face-to-face consultations where they truly listen to your unique needs. We offer a full range of holistic, data-driven solutions, from hormonal therapies and weight loss protocols to lifestyle coaching and preventative health guidance. This isn't one-size-fits-all care. This is care uniquely tailored for you. At MIDI, you will join our patients who feel seen, heard, and prioritized. You will find that our mission is clear: to help all women thrive in midlife, giving them access to the health care they deserve. Because we believe midlife isn't the middle at all. It is the beginning of your second act. Ready to feel your best and write your second act script? Visit joinmidi.com today to book your personalized insurance-covered virtual visit. That's joinmidi.com. MIDI, the care women deserve.
Fenn Theodore. That he looked exactly as I imagined he would look himself.
Welcome to Still a Part of Us, a place where moms and dads share the story of their child who was stillborn or who died in infancy. I'm Winter.
And I'm Lee. We are grateful you joined us today. Please note that this is a story of loss and has triggers.
Thanks to our lost parents who are willing to be vulnerable and share their children with us.
If you're listening to this podcast, just know that on our YouTube channel there are pictures and videos that are related to the stories that are being shared.
Subscribe and share it with a friend that might need it, and tell them to subscribe. Why? Because people need to know that even though our babies are no longer with us, they're still a part of us. Welcome to Still a Part of Us. I'm looking so forward to talking to Morgan today. She reached out to me and a little bit of a unique situation where she has some other kids also, and then she had her loss. And so I'm so grateful that she reached out and felt like she was willing to share her story, a little bit more of a unique story than we have had on this podcast. So Morgan, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about your son.
Thank you for having me and giving me this opportunity.
Yes, for sure. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and about your family, and what your family looks like right now, and maybe at the time when Fenn was born?
Yeah, my husband and I have been married for almost 16 years, and we have a 7-year-old daughter. Her name is Tessa. She has Down syndrome, and so she was a bit of a surprise for us, and a world changer for us. And then we have a 4-year-old son. His name's Sully, and then we have Fenn. And Fenn was going to be our last little person to join our family.
Yeah. And tell me, where are you guys located in the United States, just so we have a reference for where you're at? And then How long ago was Fenn born from the time of this recording?
So it's been almost 8 months. He was born at the end of September of 2025. And we are located outside of Richmond, Virginia.
Okay. Yeah. And I just want to point out, I always like to point this out because this is so incredibly hard, I think, telling a story under a year from your loss. Because I didn't have the courage to tell our son's story until like a year later. So I commend you, because it is raw and hard, and I'm really grateful that you are willing to share him with us. As a family, do you want to tell us a little bit what you guys like to do, and what your family looks like in that regard?
My husband and I are both ecologists, and so we are we're outside all the time, and so we love hiking and gardening and just playing outside, and and we also like watch movies and that kind of thing, but we also love camping, and Finn was we went camping a couple times when he was in my belly. And so our yard and being outside was definitely this like safe haven for me after he died. So lots of outside time.
Yeah, that sounds delightful. And I bet it's lovely in Richmond. So, okay. So you have, and are you guys both from Virginia then? Are your families there, or was that something that or your jobs brought you to Virginia?
Yeah, my husband's family is in this area, and then my family is about 2 hours away.
Good.
We lived in outside of Atlanta for 8 years, and that's where both of our kids were born. Okay. So like Finn was going to be the first like Virginian born in terms of our kids. But yeah, we moved back to be closer to family. So yeah,
that's great. I always like to kind of get an idea of like where people are at, because it does lend to the story. It talks just who's around to help and be with you. So okay, well that is wonderful. And so you guys had your Tessa and you had Sally, and so Finn was planned. It sounds like he was going to be your caboose.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Finn is, my husband was on the fence. Sorry, my cat. My husband was on the fence for quite a while. Not really sure if we were going to have a third. And then, he was like, I want one. I think that I'm just a little scared about, having a third, but it's worth it. And so yeah, Finn he was very much planned and wanted. And I think that's what made it so painful, is that it was this like years long conversation of what if we want to like have one more. And then finally we decided yes and had him. And it was very bizarre, just like how that all happened. But yes, he was very much wanted.
Yeah.
And planned for.
I know that is so frustrating. And yes. Yeah. Okay. So then you, just kind of as a backup also, was it difficult for you to get pregnant in the past with your other kids?
With Tessa, we got pregnant. We decided to start trying, and we got pregnant the next month.
Okay.
And, with her, we had a very late diagnosis with her. And so she always felt like so meant to be. It's like we were married for 9 years and then decided to get pregnant, and we did. And then, she just came being herself. Yeah. And then with Sully, it took me about 9 months to get pregnant with him, and I did have a very early miscarriage in between, like when we started trying and getting pregnant with him. I also think I just didn't quite know my body as well in terms of just timing and all of those things. And so once I started like really learning about it, I think that helped us along the way. And then yes, with Finn, we decided to start trying in January of 2025, and we got pregnant right away with him.
Okay. So, and then tell me how that went when you found out that you were pregnant.
Well, I am not chill about it. Obviously we had started trying, and I am one of those people that unfortunately like takes a lot of pregnancy tests, and it gets a little obsessive, but it's so, yeah, I can't help it. And I thought that, I was started testing like a little too early. And then I, got a very like a line. It was on a Friday, and we were driving down to the Virginia Aquarium with Ryan's sister and her husband. And I was like, this is positive. And it was funny because the whole day being at the aquarium, I was like, I feel so pregnant, and I was like not even 4 weeks pregnant, but I was like, oh my gosh, like I can feel it already. I was very, very excited.
That is awesome. Yeah. I love how you're like, I'm not chill when it comes to this, because lots of tests.
Yes.
Okay. And then, so you got the line, and then did you tell your husband right away? You just kind of told him?
Yeah. I've never done any type of surprise. I showed him, and he was like, well, we'll have to see. 'Cause it was faint. And I was like, this is clearly a line. And I had I was like, okay, you can choose to doubt it, but I know tomorrow morning it's going to be even darker. And it was, so yeah.
That's so funny. You're like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. Yes.
So then you guys found out. Did you end up telling your kids right away?
No, we waited until the first ultrasound to tell them. I wanted to make sure that just because of having that early miscarriage, it was, what people call chemical pregnancy. So I didn't get it, I didn't have an ultrasound or anything before losing them. But I was very much wanting to see the heartbeat. But we ended up telling them after that, because it was I was a little over 9 weeks when we had our first ultrasound with Fenn. So I felt when I saw him, I felt very confident that okay, we're good. And so, we told Tessa and Sully, and I remember Sully's first response was why? Why are we having a baby?
This makes no sense.
Yes. But very on board very quickly. But yeah, it was, I've never been somebody who enjoys telling everybody. I don't know how to, I just feel very vulnerable and kind of exposed. And so telling them was so special, but then, we did start telling family. After that, we wanted to tell Sully and Tessa first. And, I'm all yeah, we're pregnant. Don't look at me. But everybody was very surprised and excited. And we had, for Ryan's parents, they were coming over, and we put the long strip of the ultrasound photos on our refrigerator, and didn't say anything. And his mom went to the fridge, and she was like, what is this? And, it was exciting to tell everybody.
Yeah. It is really fun and then you were sneaky. I think that's fun that you just put it onto the fridge. I think that's fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So then at 9 weeks, was that the first time you did go into the hospital, to go into your provider to be seen and also see the ultrasound?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And how did everything look at that time?
Yeah. Everything looked normal and good. And, it was very much this is your third pregnancy, congratulations, it was exciting. Yeah. And I was this old school geriatric pregnancy mom.
Oh, that term.
I know.
So rude.
Advanced maternal age.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I was fine. I was very excited. I can rock the advanced maternal age. Yeah. But no, everything looked great. And I was definitely nauseous. And so that was kind of one of the things that we talked about, and just not feeling great. But in terms of the way the ultrasound looked, everything was normal. And we got they ordered the blood work, and for Tessa, Sully, and Fenn, we waited to find out the sex for all three. And so,
You did.
we like made sure like with ordering. Yeah. So yeah, I was elated after like seeing him on the ultrasound.
Yeah. Did you end up doing any of the genetic testing that sometimes they offer just to rule out anything?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So with my daughter, we did not do that. And so after having my experience with her and like finding out so late in my pregnancy, because I found out 35 weeks with her that she had Down syndrome. So I definitely did the genetic testing for Sully and for Fenn and everything. And it's kind of like scary for me. Like it's one of those things that I am expecting something to come back, I've lived through that. So, not that my chances are any higher, but it's like, well, they were definitely not as high then. So it's just, always like a thing that's very, very nerve-wracking. And I don't know if like everyone gets as nervous as I do about those things, but it is like a process of, there's always this like feeling of like the moment before you get your test results, and then the moment after, and like, is this going to be a moment where my life changes? And so I'm always like afraid of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A little PTSD almost, right? A little like, ooh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But he was low risk for everything. So.
Okay. So you were feeling, it sounds like you had some nausea. Any other pregnancy symptoms, or were you feeling generally, other than that, okay?
Yeah, I was feeling tired. It's hard to know, like when you're in your like late 30s and you have like 2 kids that you're now following around, like, is it pregnancy tired, or am I just, like tired?
Because I'm a parent of 2 young children.
From life.
Yes, from life.
Yes, and pregnant. Yeah. So I definitely felt like very tired. But I'm trying to think if I had anything really else. I don't think so. I felt really good. Like overall, I had Tess and Sully are 2.5 years apart, and I like really struggled emotionally when I was pregnant with Sully. I think I might have still had some like remnants of like postpartum like depression or something. And so I was like nervous about that, but I felt so like even keeled and just good. And I was, just overall like happy and felt strong. And it was a really good, like, last pregnancy. I felt. So yeah.
Okay.
Not too many like symptoms that I can remember, at least.
Yeah. Okay.
It hasn't been that long, but nothing that sticks out.
Yeah. So, but generally it sounds like regular pregnancy stuff, nothing like where you were needing to be admitted into the hospital for throwing up so much or something like that. So
no.
Okay.
No.
And then, okay. So then you were going along, and did you end up like telling, like, you probably you didn't have like an additional baby shower or anything like that, or a baby sprinkle or anything because you were like, oh yeah, we've got Sully and we can do hand-me-downs and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, I didn't do anything. And that is like, my husband and I like did go and like get a couple of like, I say new, but like used clothes like for the baby. And but I didn't get anything special. And that's actually like one of the things I like kind of regretted was when I like packed all of his stuff away. Most of the things were like associated memory wise with like Tessa and Sully in terms of just these clothes that I've had for years. And so it felt like it didn't feel as hard in that way. But I also felt kind of guilty for like not having these like special items that were just for him. So yeah, but no, we didn't have a baby shower or anything like that. I don't know.
Yeah. It is interesting because I have the same thing of just like, oh, there's a little bit of guilt there associated with having a previous child and not having specific things for them. And there's always guilt. It feels like.
Yes, there's always guilt.
There's always guilt. Okay. So Morgan, then did you, okay. So because you were of an advanced maternal age, were you going in a little bit more regularly? I know, I'm so sorry. Because I remember, all of my pregnancies were, I was older. And so, but I think I was still on a regular, like monthly basis for a long time. And then not until later, I started to be seen a little bit more regularly. Is that about the same for you?
Yeah. I had a normal like schedule that someone younger than 35 would like follow. And and I had friends who were pregnant at the same time as me, and they, and I was seeing like a midwifery group, and this one particular friend was too. And I remember like they recommended her to take baby aspirin just because of her age. And she had like a couple additional ultrasounds just because of her age. And my practice like didn't have any of those recommendations. And I didn't question it because in my mind, I've always been like, as little like intervention, like as little medicalized as possible. I want it to be. And so I was like, yeah, if they gave me the option, I wouldn't want to do more monitoring. Like there's no point. So yes, no, I didn't have anything extra. I like leading up to my pregnancy, I guess like 6 months prior to getting pregnant, I had started taking like CBD oil for trying to sleep better and like just trying to help my anxiety. And it helped me. And I did not realize it was something that you're not supposed to, it's not like recommended to take while you're pregnant. And I was still taking it. And I realized when I was 17 weeks pregnant, and I like spiraled and freaked out and messaged, the midwife and was like, is there anything I can do? Is like, cause there's not a lot of research on it.
Right.
But I was like, the little bit of research there is, it's like, sometimes there can be like behavioral things. And so I had this like whole panicked night-long panic of, this like damage that I've done to this baby's brain as it's developed. And like, I don't know about other moms who have had stillborn babies, but I have a list in my mind of like, could this have been like the cause? Could this have like contributed? Never like having an answer. I mean, I've even looked up, can drinking like a dirty chai latte once a week, like, is there like, caffeine, like, but yeah. So anyways, that was one of like a little blip of like drama in my pregnancy with him where I had to really like let it go and have to like have trust that he was going to be okay. And like it's still in the back of my head, like, is that something that messed up like the placenta? Like, I don't really know. So, but besides that, everything seemed fine.
Okay. Yeah. I, just to confirm with you, yes, we do I have a running list of like, maybe it was this, maybe it was this, maybe it was this. So I think this is just one of the things that ends up happening is that you just kind of spiral and you think of every possible thing that could have contributed to it. And unfortunately it's not anybody's fault. It's not, yeah. We'll probably not ever know what happened. So yeah, that's tricky. That's really tricky. When you are going in and you are generally doing okay at those appointments then, like your regular appointments, basic monitoring, just and everything is checking out okay.
Yeah, everything, like the 20-week anatomy scan, everything looked good. Again, I don't enjoy ultrasounds because they freak me out. And everything was great. And all the appointments leading up to, getting up to the weekly appointments, all of those looked good. I went in, I guess, like right when I got into the third trimester, I had a couple of days where I felt like my blood pressure felt low. So I just like felt a little off and like a little dizzy. And I did go in for an extra appointment just to get checked out. And, they weren't like concerned. It wasn't like alarmingly low. It was low, but they were like, you probably just need to drink more water. So I just, and electrolytes, and that's the kind of, advice that I got. And so that's what I did. And it passed. I did like start taking my blood pressure a little bit more. And when I wasn't feeling great, it never got high. It was always just like lower. But yeah.
Okay. And lower. Then I do like to ask this question. I know that you have decided not to find out what you were having. Did you and your husband have a running list of names or anything? Or how do you guys usually choose names? I've always kind of wondered that if you don't have any foreknowledge of what name list you should go with.
Yeah, we pick a girl name and we pick a boy name. But I do have to say that my husband, I always like joke like that this is going to be the end of us, because like he like can't. He doesn't contribute names, but he also like any name I contribute, he's like, no,
he shoots
I don't
it down.
like that. And especially shoots it down. And boy names are the like hardest for us. And so I think for us, like Finn, it's so funny because I had suggested Fenn earlier, or like a version of Fenn, because his name is just Finn. And he was like, no, I don't like that. But then later he brought up Finnick, which is, I think that's like a type of fox. And it's just the Nick part is like too close to our last name. And so I was like, no, but I like Finn. And, and Finn, the way we spell it is a type of wetland. And so, because we're ecologists and all of that. And, it took us a long time. Like we settled on it, like maybe like a week before I had him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's like always with the boys, like, are we going to come up with something? That's always the question. Like, but that's how we came up with his name.
Yeah, that is a
lot of conversations.
Yeah, I was going to say that kind of went around about. It did come back full circle. So
yeah.
Okay, well, that is really neat. I think that's wonderful. Okay, and then I know that you had the 20-week anatomy scan. Did anybody go to that with you? Was your husband there? Any of the kids?
Yeah, my husband was there with me for the 20-week anatomy scan, and he came to some of the appointments. He couldn't go to all because sometimes he, was working or watching the kids. But then I think we brought the kids just to one appointment where they heard the heartbeat. And that was really special. It was also very chaotic.
Yes.
We had like their double stroller in this very small room. And I was like, I'm not feeling like this was a good idea.
You're like, this is stressing me out.
But yes, don't check my blood pressure now. Yeah.
That's great that they were able to
and then
participate.
Some I went by myself.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so then we're starting to get into the third trimester, and are you starting to do weekly appointments at that time?
Am I starting to do weekly appointments?
Yes, weekly appointments. Yes.
Yes. I think I started, no, I think they were just biweekly. I didn't start the weekly appointments until, I guess, week 36, was when I started those. Yeah.
Okay. And still everything was looking okay. Everything was checking out. Heartbeat was strong. You were feeling okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I was feeling good. I, was tired, and felt very big. But everything was normal. I was like normal big.
Normal big. Okay. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was taking I made it a thing where in the afternoons I would put on a movie, and I would set my alarm for 30 minutes, and I would lay on the couch and it would be like the best nap of my life. Like a very core memory of my pregnancy with Finn is just being so cozy on that couch, like taking naps daily. And yeah, so I was trying really hard to take care of myself. But yeah, it was just, things were moving along, and we were so busy that like time was obviously like going by quickly. But yeah.
Yeah. That's a cool little memory that you have of that time with him. I think that's really sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, so then will you kind of talk about, as you start to transition into the weekly appointments, everything is measuring okay, you're feeling okay, and any concerns at that time?
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, everything was looking good, and measuring okay. And, I actually, like, I had polyhydramnios with my daughter, and that's kind of what led us down this path of finding out that she had Down syndrome. And so, like, the measuring part, I would always be like, am I measuring, not too big and, or too little? But yeah, everything was good. And, his heart rate was always good, and it was always easy to find. There was never any. He was like a baby that moved a lot, so there was also just that like regular like comfort of just him being in there doing flips and kicking and all that stuff. So,
and did you were you doing any like regular count kicking or anything like that, or was that just something like, oh, I'm noticing, oh yeah, he's moving today and he's doing good?
Yeah, no, I never did any kick counting. It's like hard for me to say. Like, I'm trying to think of times when he like wasn't moving, because obviously he had to sleep, right? But he just moved so often that it wasn't thing that I was like really, thinking of, because it was just like part of him. But yes, I did not do any type of kick counting or any kind of apps or anything like that. Yeah. I wish.
Yeah. But, well, it sounds like he was an active little guy. And so it sounds like you were very just aware of how he was anyway, and that he was
like present. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then, so let's start talking about when things transition, where it, tell us how things went from there.
When things weren't good anymore.
When things weren't good.
Yeah. So, I was 37 weeks and a few days. Actually, I guess when I was 37 weeks and 2 days, that night I had a couple hours of prodromal labor, and I remember thinking like, whoa, like I'm expecting this baby to come in like a few weeks. Like, this is crazy if like they're coming this early. And with Sully, I'd had a night of prodromal labor, and then the next night the same thing, and it turned into labor. So that's kind of in my mind. I was like, ooh, like this is going to be happening. And so it, dissipated, like the contractions dissipated, and the next day was a normal day. And that night, our doula actually came over for our first visit. Like, I talked to her via Zoom and texted her and that kind of thing. But this was the first time I met her, because she always does like a 37-week home visit. And, we talked about labor, and I remember telling her, she always asked her clients, like, rating epidurals, like 0 to 10, like 0, definitely want one, 10, don't want one. And I remember telling her 10, like, I want this to be natural, like all the support possible, like as long as it's possible, And I remember telling her, like, even at this point, I was like almost 38 weeks pregnant. Like, I couldn't really fathom this baby, like, coming. Like, it felt very unreal to me, like, that he was going to be joining our family so soon. And, like, I was like, I feel like I'm in denial a little bit. And she had told me, she's like, you and Ryan, like, you should go on a date and like write each other letters and like really just like think about, like, this new little person, like, joining your family. And when she left, I just remember feeling just so much excitement and anticipation, and just like, it's going to be happening soon. And, like really soon. And I just felt really that into the pregnancy anticipation, very, very excited, and also like not wanting to rush it, like I wanted to savor it all. And I took a bath that night, and I did this I can't remember what it's called, but it's kind of like child's pose, but your like butt's kind of more in the air, just trying to like not have prodromal labor happen again so I could like sleep. These were just like things that I was told to do since it was still kind of early. And the next day was a Thursday, September 25th. My daughter was, at the time we were doing this 3-week intensive where she had a couple hours of therapy, and I took her and I worked during it. And I remember talking to a coworker about the pregnancy and how like it was going to be, the baby was going to be here so soon. And I went on a walk and just felt so excited. And I got Tessa and we went home, and I work in the evenings at home. And so, I was on a call with my boss, and we were talking about something very frustrating. And I remember just like being stressed and like kind of like very agitated at this conversation. And downstairs, my husband was cooking dinner, and I could hear my daughter. She doesn't often get like super dysregulated, but she was really dysregulated and like crying, like inconsolable. And my husband had texted me and was like, please, can you come down and help? And I was like, when I get off my call, I'll come down and help. And part of her like crying, like sometimes even to this day, like I wonder if she like knew that something was off, just because I feel like she has this other like awareness or sense. But I got off my call and I went downstairs, and it took me a while to like calm her down. And I put her we have a sensory swing in her bedroom, and I was swinging her and we were listening to music. And I had just this thought come into my mind, which I'm sure like you've heard this literal sentence like so many times. But this thought come into my mind of like, like I haven't felt the baby move in a minute. Like I don't remember the last time they moved. That's weird. And it felt weird that I even thought it, because it's just never been a thought that's crossed my mind before. And I, started pushing on my belly, and there was no response. And that felt weird too, just because like normally he would move or do something. So I started like worrying, feeling a little panicked. And, like Tessa's story is so integrated into Fenn's story to me, or at least like my journey in motherhood. And I kept thinking like, this isn't part of our journey. Like we've already gone through like a good amount of like trauma, associated with her like birth and like postpartum and all that stuff. And it's like, this isn't part, like, there's no way that this other rare thing is going to be happening to us. And like, I just didn't feel like that, just felt so wild to me that would even be something that would happen. And Ryan had finished making dinner, and he had made like breakfast dinner. So it was like pancakes and some like bacon and stuff. And I remember being like, okay, I'm glad it's like pancakes, because I'm going to like eat some sugary stuff. And and so I went back up to work, and I didn't say anything to him, and I ate and still like pushing on my belly. And I had texted a couple of friends being like, I'm not trying to like panic, but like the baby's not moving. And I ended up telling Ryan, and he was like, well, it's you have your appointment tomorrow morning, so like that's like we're good. It's like, no, I think I'm gonna call like the midwife on call, because this like I'm pretty sure they're gonna want to like make sure everything's okay. And I'd been like laying on the bed and like pushing my belly and crying and like just kept thinking this cannot be part of our journey. And I ended up having, I called the midwife and was waiting for them to call me back. And, when she got on the phone, she was like, I was really emotional trying, like, which surprised me. Like I wasn't expecting to be like crying on the phone to her. And, just like, I was scared. And she was like, well, babies sleep sometimes. And so, you can either come in like now or like give it an hour and like try to eat some more like sugary stuff, lay on your left side. In my mind, like he was sleeping and like her saying that, I was like, okay. I had like bought all of this like food for labor, including some like green juices, like 2 days before. And so I like chugged this green juice and I ate some candy. And I was laying on our bed and I had Ryan. I was like, Ryan, can you please like push on my belly? Like maybe like he'll respond to you or they'll respond to you. And he was pushing on my belly and like I could feel the baby in me, like his body. And there was no movement, and that just, it's like, that something's wrong. So we ended up asking Ryan's parents to come over, and we were waiting for them, and it was like 7:30, 7:45 at night. And we were talking to Sully and Tessa and telling them that Grammy and Grandpa are coming over and they were going to do bedtime. But I told Sully, like, but we'll see you in the morning. Cause in my mind, we were just going to go get checked, and it was going to be one of those things that I was being overly like cautious about. Mm-hmm. And I hadn't even like fully packed a bag for the hospital. I'd like partially packed it. Like packing always stresses me out. So this was like one of those things I was 100% procrastinating on. Yep. And Ryan like came out of our room with the bag, and I remember like feeling mad at him. Like, no, like go put that back. Like it's partially packed. Like the stuff that we would need isn't even really in there. And like, we're not going to be spending the night. And so he put it back, and we, his parents got there, and I told him sorry. I'm sorry that you're here so late, and, I'm sure it's going to be a long night for you guys. And we left, and even driving there, I texted the midwife and told her we were coming, and she said that was a good idea. And, I remember when we were driving there asking Ryan, so if I feel the baby move, are we still going to go? Just because like I kept thinking it's this going to be this thing where I'm like exaggerating, or, like it's nothing is really wrong. And we hadn't even, this is like how much in denial I was about like how close we were. Like we hadn't even driven to the labor and delivery, like the parking lot, the building, into like downtown Richmond. And so I even like joked, well, at least this is like our opportunity that like we're going to practice, like going to like, we're going to figure out where everything is. I know, and we like went to the wrong parking deck, and it was like for an outpatient building that I had gone to. And I was like, this isn't right. And, just full on like freaking out at this point, and, trying to be civil with each other, because we were both just obviously like stressed. Yeah. Eventually we found the right parking deck, and it's like a whole like maze to get to labor and delivery. And we finally made it. And there was only one other couple like in the lobby, and the woman was like, "Are you Morgan?" And like, cause the midwife knew I was coming. And so she like checked me in, and the one thing I remember asking was like, what number like pregnancy is this? And I remember telling her it's like our third baby. And just in my mind being like, is this baby like, is this like going to be a normal story? And we didn't have to wait long. And the nurse called us back and she asked, like, why are you guys here? And I told her, like, I hadn't felt a baby move in a while. And so she's like, okay, like, get down, let's lay on the bed and we'll get you checked out. And they didn't have like the Doppler. They had like the thing that they'll like hook you up with like the strap. And so she had just like the monitor part of that.
Yeah.
And, I was very scared and also just like hoping so badly that we would hear a heartbeat. And, like I said, like it was always found easily. And so she put the monitor on me and, obviously like there wasn't that sound. Like, I think I heard my heartbeat and you could tell she was looking for it. And I started crying, because like, this was just like, I knew, that there was not a heartbeat. Like, it was just so unreal to me. And she was like, no, don't worry. I'm going to, like, sometimes they're being tricky. She's like, I'm going to go get the doctor for the ultrasound. And even her just like saying that, like, it was just like, this is actually happening. Yeah. And the doctor came in and, the whole time I'm just like crying. And, I remember the doctor, and I didn't look at the ultrasound or anything. I just like had my eyes like glued on Ryan, and his like eyes were so big and just like this unreal moment. And I remember the doctor asking the nurse to like turn the volume off, because obviously it's like just that sound of the ultrasound. And I know, like, no one ever said to me, like, there's no heartbeat. It was just this, me like freaking out. And, she said, I do remember her saying, like, I'm so sorry. And it was just this like horribly like out of body experience of just feeling like this can't be like my reality. And, I remember just, I don't know if I was having a panic attack because it's like I couldn't quite like breathe. And I kept saying over and over, like, no, I can't do this. I can't do this. No. And that like, no, that was this like memory that would like continuously like pop into my head for like months after, like that like little chunk of moment. And I like didn't see these people come in, but like there was multiple doctors and my midwife, they were like kind of all at the back of the room. And Ryan was like, can you guys give her space? And I like felt this like very strange like tug between unable to move and like also like wanting to just like bolt like out of there, like get me away, just like run. And then I like kind of describe it as like someone, like an animal who's like prey and they like have given up. It like felt like something came over me where I just like stopped. Like I like surrendered and was quiet. And I post all of this happening, one of the things I would like visualize was like my current day self, like giving that version of me, like a hug. And like, that's the reason why, like I settled down. But it was just unreal. And, they told us, I remember the nurse, I remember her, like everybody was so sad, like and the nurse, like had to leave the room. And I remember hearing someone ask her if she was okay. And like later thinking how like, this is why, like, I'm their situation where like, this is why their job is hard. Like this is like a bad day for everybody. This is my worst day of my life, but this is probably like in their memory forever too. They told us we could go home, or like start an induction. And I couldn't imagine going home, like, because of our babies. Like, I couldn't, how do you like do life, or like sit for a day? Like, it didn't feel like that was an option. And I think too, like, I really had this desire to get the process like going. And I think that probably was this feeling of just like wanting to run feeling, just like, let's get whatever I have to do, like, just like want to get it done. And so they took a minute for them to find us a room, and, Ryan and I were just in the room by ourselves, like in the triage place, and taking turns crying. And, I, part of like the whole, like, Ryan was crying and upset because just the fact that I would have to be induced, because it was something I had to be induced with Tessa, and it was, a really hard, like, scary thing that I didn't want to have to do again. And which a third pregnancy is different than a first pregnancy, but still, it was just this like talk about not wanting any medical like things, and it was like everything was going to be happening. And I also was just like, this is what's going to be happening. I don't know. They put us in a room, and I was like shaking, like kind of like I am now. And I just like couldn't control my body. Like, had the shivers, and they put warm blankets on me, and the room was dark. And I remember everybody like talking to us in a very like soft, like almost like whisper. And the nurse that was assigned to us was so kind. And my midwife and the doctor came in, and they were talking to us about, like already like talking about, we're going to have to, most likely, we wouldn't know what happened. Like, they told us that it's just like oftentimes not known. They told us we could take blood work for me to make sure, like, to see if I had an infection or anything. And asked about if we would want to do an autopsy or genetic work. And I think for me, I didn't want anything to be done to the baby. And sometimes I like regret not doing genetic testing. We did the blood work for me, but in my mind, I was like, I don't want the baby to be touched. And I just wasn't in my right mind to even really like ask questions.
Yes.
So, I try to give myself a lot of grace when I like think now about things, 'cause it's like, there's no way I could have like formed that thought, at the time. It was just this bombardment of information, and I was out of my mind. Like, I don't know how else to put it. They told us like the baby could, asked about cremation versus burial. And, we were like, we'll cremate the baby. And I know, just like the baby hadn't even been born yet.
Yeah.
And, the doctor was talking about how the hospital can do the cremation for free. And then the midwife was like, yeah, but you don't get the ashes back. Yeah. And obviously we were like, we want the ashes. So it's just this like process of, like kind of going through all of those questions. And I know everybody who has gone through this experiences it. It's just like, unreal. And I mean, all the information is needed, right? It's just like, when's the right time? I don't really know what the right time to do any of that is. I don't know. So for the induction, they asked me, like, like talked about if I would want an epidural and that kind of thing. And I was so confused because, I mean, just like 24 hours before, I had told, my doula, like, no induction at any cost. And I just, Fenn is like, taught me so many things, and that is literally one of them. It's just like so many things that you're so sure of. It's just like things happen, and like having that grace with yourself, not being so like stuck or like hard, and like your kind of like decisions, but they'd started me with the Foley balloon, and it was painful when she inserted it, and then my water broke while she was doing that. And I think with my water breaking, like the reality of that I was about to be induced and like go through labor, like it really hit me, and I freaked out a little bit, and I was like, I want the epidural. I became so afraid of the physical pain of like the contractions, because it's like how I am nothing right now. Like there's no, like I'm like wisps of a person. Like how can I endure and have the fortitude to like go through contractions and like push this baby out when they're not going to be there, like it would just be their body. I couldn't like fathom doing it, because when you have a healthy baby, like it's hard. It's unbelievably hard. So I just was like, numb me, like please take away any like physical like discomfort. And ironically, like I have this fear about epidurals and getting spinal headaches. And so when the people came in, I like it's a teaching school, and so I think the person who did it first like was still, I'm not quite sure, like I said, there was two anesthesiologists, and I don't know what was going on, but they were having a hard time, and I ended up getting like poked in the spine, like the back, like a few times, and them like wiggling it and being like, "Can you feel this?" And being like, "Yes."
Sounds
it
really
was
good.
like, it was so horrible. And the whole time I kept asking them, "Am I going to get a spinal headache?" Because I just was like, this is like this literal situation. What is my life right now? But anyways, everything like settled down, and I was laying there, and it started taking effect. And I like started feeling this, like the numbness, and I like felt like the numbness was like coming up my chest. It wasn't, but I think I was just like having a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
And I like told the nurse, I was like, I'm not sure if like I'm being numbed up to my heart. Like I just was so afraid of like, everything really. And she did a EKG on me just to like make sure, and it was just, she's like, I think you're just having anxiety. And I Ryan ended up told his mom, like after we got kind of settled, and she brought us some toiletries and brought us the bag of food that I had just bought. And I like was like, don't worry about clothes, because I just couldn't in my mind like give her instructions on like what to get. But I knew my toiletry bag. I could tell her to just put the toothbrushes in this bag. And she brought them, and Ryan met her out in the lobby, and he told me when he came back that she had told him that his aunt, which is the wife to his uncle, that like, in the 80s, like her she had a stillborn daughter at 35 weeks, and just like wild, because like I never knew this part of their story. And I started texting people. I didn't want to talk to anybody. But a couple of friends knew that I was going into labor and delivery, and they had texted being like, hey, waiting, like thinking about you, like just hoping everything's okay. And just like texting them like the baby's gone. And I remember my one friend, she just like her first response was just like, Morgan, no, no, no. And like I could feel this like ripple of pain, like as each person found out, and like imagining them telling their like spouse, and just like, like just it spreading. This unbelievable thing happened. And you know, I texted my mom and my sister, and again, like I didn't want to talk to them, and I told them like I don't want to call, like please don't call me. But I came in because the baby wasn't moving, and they're gone, and they're inducing me, and it's just, yeah, like I don't know. I had this, like, my husband like really wasn't so sure about telling people. He's like so private, like at that moment. But for me, it was like so, I couldn't stand thinking about people thinking I was okay, and that like the baby was okay. Like like I don't know, like for them to think I was still pregnant, and, like everything was dandy and I was going to be having this baby, I just like couldn't handle that. So I personally wanted people to know as quickly as possible. That whole night, the nurse like tossed me. She like helped me like flip back and forth because I have an epidural, and I ended up asking for like something to help me sleep, and she gave me Benadryl, and I think I was able to like be in this dreamlike kind of weird sleep as much as you can. And I just had like so much fear around seeing the baby. I didn't know how long he had been gone, and I just didn't know what he was going to look like. And I was scared of that. And we got up the next morning, and the shift change happened, and the new nurse and new midwife came, and they kept asking me if I felt any pressure, let them know. And they weren't like really checking me very much. And I was like, I don't feel anything. I'm very numb right now. And and I don't know if it was from the Benadryl or just the whole situation, but like that whole morning, really the whole day, even after he was born, I would just be like sitting up, and like I would just like pass out for like 2 minutes and then like wake up. It's like I couldn't, like stay conscious. Like I don't know if that was like a protective thing, just but my poor husband, he like felt so sick that morning, and I know it was just everything. And so he like went and tried to find some food and like to settle his stomach, and he that was like a thing. And when I was like nodding off, I remember like kind of hearing myself like do a little like grunt, and then later on I was like, okay, I probably was like pushing the baby on, just didn't realize, because like I didn't, and I didn't tell the nurse that, because it was just this like thing. I was kind of sleeping, and I would be like, and then I'd wake up. But I started feeling like really nauseous, and they gave me some medicine for it, and it like didn't help, and I was like drinking broth and like trying really hard to just like get my stomach to settle. So like Ryan and I are both like, we're gonna vomit. Like, we were just not well. And I was shaking, and then the midwife was there, and she had come in to talk to me about checking me, and like at like noon, she was like, you know what, you're showing some signs that like you're getting close. And she went to check me, and she was like, oh, and I was like, what's wrong? And his head had been born, and it like, I don't know why this like makes me sad, but I think just like, I have no idea like how long his head had been there, and I don't know. It's just like him sitting there, like half bored. And I was like, oh, okay. Do I need to push? And she's like, no, I can just take him out. And, he was just there. And like, even that whole situation of him just like being, without like any physical effort. I don't know why, but for some reason it just feels like significant to me. Like it was his personality or something, like just like trying not to give you like, too much more trouble, mom, and, they put him on me and I was like kind of in shock. Like I didn't. Oh, and the other thing, like prior to him being born, I remember the midwife asking if we wanted to play any music because she had said, the room's going to be quiet. And it didn't like really dawn on me like what that meant. And then like later, like thinking about it and just like, yeah, like this baby's not going to cry. And they laid him on me, and I remember like saying, he looks just like his brother. He looks, is he a boy? And they were like, yeah, he's a boy. And yeah, and yeah, like he looks just like Sully did. And Ryan was crying, and I just remember him. He was like had his head like holding his head, and Fenn was on me, and Ryan kept saying to him, buddy, like, what happened? What happened? Because he was this like big baby who looked so like just healthy, besides the fact that he wasn't here. Like, what happened? Like a full size baby. And just, yeah, like the buddy, what happened? Is like seared in my mind. And I did skin to skin with him, and Ryan cut the umbilical cord after a while. And I just, I don't know. I remember like kissing him, like kissing his head and smelling his head. And I can remember, like, I can still like smell it now and like feel his head on my lips. But I do remember his little head feeling cold and being like, we got to get a hat for him. Like, please go ask a nurse for a hat. And just, I don't know. I just, even like now, and I know it hasn't been that long, it just feels like not my real life, like I just don't even know how to, like, it just feels like this scene that I experienced, that wasn't actually my life. And we took turns holding him. Ryan, they weighed him and he was 7 pounds and 4 ounces, and he was my biggest baby. And which I'm just like, see, like, he should have been here. And Ryan like put a little diaper on him and swaddled him in a blanket. Like we didn't have anything, like any clothes for him, and this is like one of the things that is like the whole giving yourself grace. In a normal, like my baby's alive situation, I'm very much like of the mindset of like holding off on giving a bath. Like all that stuff is good for their skin. And, like being naked and having a diaper on, but like skin to skin. And, and I, like we didn't bathe him, and I like, that's one of my regrets in my life, because I just wish so badly we would have, because just to like honor his body and like his little life, and to do it once. My friend, like, she tried to comfort me by saying, but like he forever like smelled like you. And that was really like kind thing to say. And, and also just like, that's what you would have done, like any other baby, any other situation. But we like held him a lot, and I held his hands a lot, but I never like laid him down and like examined every inch of him. And I don't know like why, like I didn't do that. I think it's just like, don't like, think about it. I don't know. I wish that I would have done that. Yeah. So we took turns holding him. I sent out a text to friends and family because, obviously, like we didn't know if he was gonna be a boy or a girl, and we hadn't shared his name. And we had told, like, the text said something along the lines of like, our boy, Fenn Theodore was born. He was born 1136, and he weighed 7 pounds 4 ounces, and looks just like his little brother. And yeah, it just feels so unfair sometimes that whole thing happened. So at the hospital, they were very much like, you guys can stay as long as you want. They had the cold cot thing, but over the course of the day, Finn's little body like was already starting to change, and he had a blister like on one of his eyes. And I'm assuming that it's just from like when he was born, and then like, his heart's not pumping. So like things aren't, just like healing. And so, but his body did like start to change. His face was changing. And Ryan, he just told me, he was like, I can't go to sleep tonight. And like the idea of like waking up in the morning and like seeing him even more like different, I just like can't do that. And I can respect that, because I mean, it's very, you like want to be with your baby for as long as possible, but it's also like this, almost this like elephant in the room, as his like body is, starting to like already go through that process. And like you're trying to kind of ignore it essentially, like, and just be with your little baby. So we ended up asking them if we could be discharged like that evening, and so that we could go to bed and sleep in our own bed and be there the next morning for our kids. And they were so nice and just like hustled to like get everything situated for us. And I like, I don't know. I hate how we like said goodbye to him. Like, we both hugged him and we put him in the cot, and one of the nurses was going to stay with him. But it's also like, there's probably never going to be the perfect way to like say goodbye, like there's no way it would have been good. And I think, like my Ryan, like very much, I could feel this like anxious energy of like, I got to get out of here. Like, like I can't do this anymore. And the nurse had offered to like wheel me out. He was like, no, like I'll get her. And so like I had all these like bags of like memorabilia on this wheelchair, and I was carrying it, like I had stuff in my lap, and we said goodbye, and like he's like wheeling me, and it feels so like frantic. Like it's like you're scaring me a little bit. And we got in this elevator, and Ryan's like emotional, and this guy got in the elevator with us, and he's like, yeah, my sister just had a baby. And we were like, congratulations. And he like had told Ryan, he's like, it's okay, man, or however guys talk to each other. And but it was just like, like, gosh, just this reminder of it being like so in your face, of what you didn't get to have. And we finally like got to our car, and we hadn't installed the car seat, but it was in the back of the car, and, like putting all the stuff back there, and just the whole thing felt like a dream, like surreal. And we stopped at Target to get me some like medicine, and we get home, and his parents, his dad was waiting outside for us. And I just remember getting out of the car and just like, like I felt so like vulnerable, and just like, so just what just happened. Like 24 hours ago, I was leaving and I had a baby in my belly. And he gave me like a really big hug, and he was crying, and I like, walked inside, and my mother-in-law was in there, and she was like trying to talk to me about just like the kids, and I think just really trying to like almost have this like normal likeness. Right. And, she like gave me a big hug, and she offered to cut off my like hospital bracelets. And I was like, no, like, no, these are, don't touch me. Like, I don't want my hospital bracelets going anywhere. And I like left them. They were my in-laws and Ryan were talking in the kitchen. And I like went into the bedroom and tried to start just like taking care of myself, like I hadn't showered or anything. And, just so in shock, like that this was my real life. And I remember after I showered and Ryan went to take his, and I was laying in the bed, and I swear I felt this like little finger, or little hand like grasp my finger. And I like looked, and obviously there was nothing there. And I just was like, was that like, I swear that I just felt like this little hand. Yeah. And we, like slept, but also like I would wake up in the middle of the night and obviously like crying and dreading seeing my son in particular. And I could hear him in the morning. I heard him. I was already awake, but I heard him get out of his bed. And if I'm not already out there, he'll come into the bedroom, and I could hear him, like getting closer, and he opens our door, and just like big smile on his face. And he like comes into the bed, and we told him that we had the baby, and the baby had died, that it was a brother, and he like had wanted, that was like part of what was so sad, is like the whole pregnancy, like he had wanted a brother, and he like got one. And he had this like confused look on his face, because, and kind of like indicated, like looked towards my belly. And I was like, yeah, I know my belly is still big, but there's no baby in there. And he like kind of plopped his body down and was crying. And it was just like one of the worst moments of my life. Just being part of that, like just like breaking his little heart. And my daughter came in a little bit, or we got her a little bit later, and she's non-speaking. And so we told her, but she didn't have like any, like she didn't have a typical like reaction. But I stayed in bed a lot. My son came in and brought toys in to play, and he had already started like role playing with his toys about like having a mommy and daddy and like the baby dying. And like, so it's just like unavoidable, like this situation that you're in. And it's probably like a good thing, right? Because it's like I had to be normalize this, like this is him already processing it, and I'm like here for him, and it's painful to me, but it's true, like babies die. And we gave them, we had gotten little gifts for him and Tessa from Fenn, and so we gave them their gifts. And yeah, it just was horrible. It was horrible. The next day I had a like legit panic attack, and I think like it's kind of like I had like this little brief moment of like clarity to like really feel like what happened, like, cause you're so numb, but it was just like the tiniest little blip of like reality. And I like was like, Ryan, like I started freaking out and just like how like he's just gone. And I think just like it was so unreal to me to have like, I mean, I hate to say this, but like I have worked so hard to grow this little baby and got to the very end. And then it was just done. And there was like, he was gone. And it being like in a postpartum body without your baby, it was just so torturous. It was like so unbelievably painful. And I remember telling like a couple weeks after, like telling Ryan, like, I don't look pregnant anymore. And he was like, 'cause you're not. And I remember like, I know, like, it's like, you forget, right? Like, you're right. Like, I'm not pregnant anymore. Like, I don't have a baby. Yeah. So after I had that panic attack, I ended up calling the midwife on call, and it was like all of the midwives in that practice, like I could tell, like they all knew, like the information had been shared, and which was like good. Like I felt like they were all like brokenhearted, and I talked to her about medication because they had given me prescriptions, but I had never taken any. And I had always been like very, like try my tools in my toolbox to get me like through things. Yeah. And she was like, this is not the time to like, this is where you like need to do like the bare minimum of like eating and drinking and sleeping. And these medications are going to help you just like get through this. And, so I started taking the medication like that day. And I just like mentioned that because like I do contribute that to like starting it so quickly, as, being very helpful with just like any little help, like it being very helpful just to like do anything I could for myself. But yeah, time was horrible. I'm sure like, as you know, like just time each day felt so terribly long, like painfully long. And having these two kids, it was like they were both like my anchors. It's like, and I say I can't die, not in like I felt suicidal, but just like you think you're going to die, I can't die because I have these two babies and I like have to be there for them. But also like, I just wanted solitude, and I just wanted to be alone in my bedroom, to be sad. And I did a lot of that. Like I rested a lot, but there was also a lot of me kind of being zoned out, like in the room with them, trying so hard to be their mom. And like, and it was the duality of that. Like it was so hard. And like my husband very much was like encouraging me to be out with them. And I think in his mind, he was like, they need you as much as you need them. And but also at the same time, I was like, leave me alone. Like, please, I just want to be, like with my thoughts, and not have to like pretend. And yeah, I don't know. That part was really hard for a long time. I say a long time, but like I would say after a few months, it started feeling more normal. But I say a few months, but like a few months I feel like was a long time. Like I feel like I earned those few months, like every time a week went by, I was like, I can't believe I like lived this whole week. Like, not in a, like a go me, but kind of like I was just like, I almost had this pride, like I lived this, like I didn't die this week. And it was just so much. And
Morgan, did you end up, you did end up having Fenn cremated, though, right? That was one thing that you guys wanted for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And, he was born on Friday, and we left that Friday evening, and we had picked a funeral home to do the cremation before we had left. They called me the following Tuesday to get, I guess, start the process of permission for them to pick up his body. And that was something that was really, it's kind of an obvious thing, but I did not realize that his body was just going to be there for so long, before they picked him up.
Yeah.
And that was one of those things that I had to really I had to push it out of my head. Just imagining his little body there. It was really, really upsetting. And nobody's fault. It just was one of those things that I didn't expect. So when they called and they were like, yeah, we'll probably, it was going to be a few more days before they picked him up, and then the process of when we would get him. But yes, we did cremate him, and they, had a baby discount, it literally is called that. And which is kind, right?
Yeah.
But not the name of it, but just the making it accessible. But yes.
Oh, baby discount.
Yes, it was yeah.
Ugh,
okay. And I even imagine the person who handled his body, it being a bad day for them too, and I don't mean to be everyone needs to have a bad day. It's just this spread of pain, but also human compassion. And but yeah, we were able to get his ashes, I guess it felt like a couple weeks after he died. And I was not expecting the box to be so little. That in itself was crushing. And I mean, it's just this little tiny, this little box. I remember walking into the room, where she was gonna, we were gonna sign the papers and they were gonna give it to us, and kind of looking around, and then realizing that it was just that little box. And Ryan and I went to our favorite park after, and sat on a bench by the water and just cried. And I was also so thankful to have him back with me. And it's also just oh my gosh, I'm holding my baby's ashes. This is a very weird life that I'm living. This is unreal. But also I'm so thankful that he's back with us and he'll be in our room. And, yes. And we had a memorial service for him. We didn't actually have it until December. So he died at the end of September. It was hard for me to think for a long time. And I wanted it to be, special, and I wanted to be part of it. And so it was hard to know, because all the holidays coming up, and weather, and it getting colder. And I felt really strongly about wanting to have it the same year that he died. I didn't want to wait until the spring.
Yeah.
And so we, picked a weekend, the second weekend in December, and knowing that some people weren't going to be able to come just because of the time of year. But to me, it was having it before the end of the year was more important than that. But I had read a couple of books about grief, particularly one of them being The Wild Edge of Sorrow. And it was all about rituals and your grief and processing your grief and doing it in community. And so for me, his celebration, I really wanted it to be this community of our close family and friends, where not only were they witnessing our grief, but we were giving them an opportunity to grieve and for him and witness their grief. And so I asked everybody to, and this was everything was optional, and I told them this, but I, asked everybody to bring in a small object, and it could be something they made or something they already owned or something they bought, but it made them think of Fenn in some kind of way. And we were going to place it on an altar. And I also invited everybody to either write a letter or a poem or draw a picture or write down a poem that they love. And they could either, we had a fire going outside in our fire pit, and they were gonna be invited to like read it out loud if they wanted before like burning it, or just in silence burn it. So we I was really worried it was going to be really cold that day, and it wasn't. It was like in the low like 60s.
Oh.
And we like decorated the outside. We had these little like glass things that we hung from our dogwood trees, and we put little asters in them. And I'd bought a bunch of flowers, about sunflowers, ferns, and purple and white asters, because all of those things reminded me of him. And Ryan and I arranged like all of these bouquets together. And I had been collecting vases like from Facebook Marketplace like the previous like weeks before. And so we and also like buying like special candle holders and candles, and everything just felt very like intentional to me. And so we had photos framed of him and our family, of me with being pregnant with him. And we, just ended up like lining up multiple spaces in different rooms for him. And there's candles and the flowers were everywhere, and pictures. And then when each person came, they, we had music playing, and they would put their little item, and it ended up being just so beautiful, and felt so intentional. And I submitted like the videos I took of like each altar, but it filled my heart up, just like seeing this life like celebrated, and all these people, like how he had impacted them. And then we ate food, and we went out to our backyard and sat around the fire, and took turns reading our letters and burning them. And several, like I would say a handful of people read theirs, and then most people didn't, and that was totally okay. It's like an incredibly vulnerable thing to do, to read your letter out loud. And afterwards we had cake. I had a friend bring like this chocolate cake with Fenn's name on it, and we had cupcakes. And I wanted it to be this thing, like just a celebration of him. Like, this is a place where he is so loved. And I wanted it to be very clear that that's like all that, it was just all love. And after everybody left, it was like the most incredible sunset. And it just felt like he had made this day like so beautiful. And I am not like, I'm not like the kind of mom that is a really great party planner. Like, I do things very last minute because it's like you can only, like in my mind, I'm like, I do one thing at a time. Like, I just don't have the capacity. But for this, I like every little thing felt like filled with intention. And it was like my little, like my gift to him. And yeah, it was a really good, special day for us. So,
That sounds so beautiful. And I do think that when you mentioned, you're like, I'm not much of a party planner, but this was something that I really did. And I just think of like, we're not going to get that chance to plan the future parties, like those future birthday parties or,
Yeah.
you know, graduations or whatever, all of those milestones. It really is like, it's good that you were able to have this time to be able to do that for him. And I think that's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Morgan, I wanted to first of all, thank you. I do have a couple of extra questions because I wanted to see if they were able to find anything that had happened to him when he was born. Was there anything physical on him? I know that you opted maybe not to do an autopsy, but I'm just curious if they saw anything that was maybe pointed in the direction of a cause of why he passed away.
Yeah. So after he was born, they, had examined him and examined the placenta and the cord. And they had said, there was no obvious physical, thing about Fenn, and the cord was, anatomically normal. The placenta looked healthy, and we did not choose to do an autopsy.
Mm-hmm.
They did do a pathology report on the placenta and the cord, and the results came back with some things. There was a little bit of inflammation in the placenta, but so there is like a high grade version of it which can lead to stillbirth. But he had the lower version, like the lower grade, and to the point where it's like I could have had that on my other placentas. They just weren't examined,
right.
or you know what I mean? It's just, I ended up talking to a maternal fetal medicine doctor afterwards about it. And, she was very much like, he was a normal weight, and because the inflammation can cause, I think the main thing that it can cause is just a lower body weight.
Yeah.
He was healthy, or like a normal weight. And but it's always in the back of my mind, like if that was the cause, it's like your body, the mom's body is essentially ends up kind of like fighting off the placenta, like the baby. That's like what causes the inflammation. Their like immune system. So, but I don't know. I was very getting that report back and it not being like clear.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it haunts me because it's like, I don't thinking about like having another child. It's scary because if it was like if there was an actual cause, then there could be a very clear, like this is what we're going to do versus like, we're going to do this and we don't know if it will help.
Yes. It really does feel like a crapshoot. Or if it was like,
the cord being in a knot. Like it's just, there's so much, like this a random thing. And we saw a genetic counselor too after, and Ryan and I both got tested for like the larger, like the 113 like genetic things. And he was a carrier for one thing and I was a carrier for something else, but they weren't the same. And so, it's like that wasn't the reason why. But she did tell me that, sometimes like a baby's heart, like there can be like an electrical thing where like their heart just stops. And even if you did an autopsy, like you wouldn't be able to see that. It's like just a genetic thing that can happen where like anatomically it looks normal and healthy. But I don't know. So it's just hard because, and I really struggled to, after he was born, just with like, because it was so close. Like I was a couple of days from being 38 weeks pregnant. And I just kept thinking like, if he had been born the day before, like, would he have lived? Like it was so like hard to accept that, like, and my husband likes to remind me, and this is a good reminder, like, we don't know that, if he could have been born and like, he still could have died, because of something like like there could have been a reason. But in my mind, I'm just like, he was so close. Like he was a full-size baby, like it's just hard to, like, sometimes I want to be like, I made a full-size baby and then he died inside me. Like, this is like, what is that? And now his ashes are in my bedroom. Like that's very like hard to like grasp. But anyways, it did not bring me peace. I mean, when I talked to the maternal fetal medicine doctor and like we had met with her, she was very confident that, like it was just this random, horrible thing that happened, and, for us, I want to just say, like, I don't think Tessa is this random, horrible thing, but it is like very hard for me with having like two very like situations that are just rare to happening.
Yeah.
And my midwife like made the comment like, yeah, I think just being struck twice. And, but when, a doctor tells me like the chances of it happening again are low, like part of me is like, I don't actually trust you, not because I don't trust you. I just don't like, what do statistics mean to me,
Yeah,
like
you're like, it happened twice, things. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm like and I've alwaed been like with Tessa, it was so medicalized at the end. I had to do so many ultrasound, like the last few weeks, and like then induced and like all of this stuff. And so I like really wanted just so few like medical interventions for Sully and for this baby. And, it was just like blew my mind because it was like, okay, so Fenn was actually, he's the reason why really like all of this stuff like actually exists, like to prevent him, like people who are high risk, it's like they, this is what they're trying to prevent. And I, this whole time was thinking like it was all overly like, medicalized, which I think it still is, but you know what I mean? It just felt so ironic, like that I was this, and like lesson learned, about my own like judgments and, just like, I get why like somebody might choose to get induced early because, the whole point of like going over 40 weeks is sometimes you're increasing the risk of stillbirth. And like, I just, when it's so separate from you, the risk feels so small. And I don't know. So lessons learned.
Yes. That is interesting. I've never heard of it put that way, but yeah, I mean, a lot of the medical interventions, which may seem invasive and excessive, are, it's sometimes to prevent things from happening. But when it doesn't happen to you, you just don't think much about it. And so, anyway, Morgan, I wanted to thank you for sharing Fenn with us. Yes, I have felt that same feeling because we lost our son at 38 weeks. It was like 37 weeks and 6 days. And we gave birth to him on 38 weeks. And so it does feel like, oh man, all of that, like time and resources wasted. Like that sounds so terrible, but also that's kind of how you're like, oh, we were so close. We were so close. And so close to having Fenn here. So, but I want to tell you, thank you for sharing him. It was beautiful. It was fun to get to know him a little bit, that he was his name. I really love his name, and now you guys got to that and how fun that is. So, is there any last things that you want to say about him, before we close up today?
I think just, he is beloved and, he is our, third baby. And I know that's obvious to you, but I want the whole world to know that like we are a family of 5 and, he is integrated into our lives, and I love him very much.
That is perfect. Thank you again so much for sharing his story with us.
Yeah, thanks.
Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's room of choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.